The ancestors lived through us.
Yeah.
They're in our DNA. That means millions of years of information is inside of you. So we talk about like people trying to access the Akashic records. The Akashic records isn't someplace like Washington, D.C., you know, or something like that. The Akashic records is here. And when you develop enough personal power and your consciousness raised to a level, then you have access to all of that information that's literally thousands and hundreds of thousands of years old. So we have access to that. That's why meditation is so important. Why don't they teach meditation in school? Because they don't want you getting in touch with no ancestors. They don't want you getting in touch with information that they don't know. Woo!
We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. We were brought here against our will. We were not brought here to be made citizens. We were not brought here to enjoy the constitutional gifts that they speak so beautifully about today. And because we weren't brought here to be made citizens today, now that we've become awakened to some degree and we begin to ask for those things which they say are supposedly for Americans, they look upon us with hostility and unfriendliness. So our unwanted presence, the fact that we are unwanted, is becoming magnified in all of America's preachments today.
They tried to make you forget, because if you remembered who you truly are, the world will shake. You get it? Now, Grand Rising Kings and Queens, welcome back to my YouTube commentary. The message I'm going to deliver today is not just for your mind, it is for your soul. Because what the system fears most is not your anger. No, the system does not fear your anger. The system fears your awakening, black awakening. And today we are not talking about success or motivation, but we are talking about remembrance. Remembrance, this is the sacred remembering of who you are, where you come from, and why you carry a fire that refuses to die. And this message will make you remember who you truly are. Before I continue, let's watch this clip and then we go.
Black people, they are the aboriginals of every continent. Dark-skinned people are the aboriginals of every continent. Native Americans migrated over the ice bridge from Siberia, that would be Asia, and became what we now know as Native Americans. Yes, they lived off the land. Yes, they knew how to give back to it, so therefore they should be considered indigenous. But the people who were on that land before them and the ice bridge even formed were black people. Black people also built pyramids on every continent. That's why there are pyramids on every continent. It's not erasure to say that black people were the aboriginals of every country. We're not saying you didn't exist. We're saying you came after. What's so hard to understand?
Did you know that there wouldn't be a white person if we didn't exist? Did you know that all the races came from us? Did you know that you are the mother and the father of every human being that lives on this planet, that they all started from the black man and woman? They're not going to teach you this in school. And you probably didn't go far enough in school to study genetics. But I want to share this with you because you need to rap about this. There was a great white anthropologist. His name is S.B. Leakey, Leake. You can Google him, look him up. Leakey wanted to find the origin of man. He may have stopped in Europe, but he didn't stay there because life did not originate in Europe. You know where he ended up? In Africa, looking at the bones of ancient people. Now, did you know there's a science that they could take your bone and say, oh, this is a black person, or this is a Native American, or this is an Asian, or this is a white person, because your genetic structure is such that you have the strongest of bones. They tried to make slaves of our native brothers and sisters, but it destroyed them. But the more they put on us, we survived.
We need money. Black women specifically need a lot of it because we need our things.
We need our things.
I don't think that enough people understand that, we come from shiny and gaudy. We were royalty.
Yeah.
We're still royalty,
Yeah.
right? Which is why they want to stifle us so much, which is why they want the DEI programs out of there that may have not even been a real thing to begin with, right?
Yeah.
They want these things to not be to the forefront. You know why? Because they don't want us to have this. Because they know with this, it controls this. They don't want us to have that. We deserve it, and we deserve a lot of it. And I want black women to stop thinking that it is okay to just simply get by.
So I just want to start off by saying that I feel really weird doing this video, but I have to because last night God came to me and it's a lot. It's a lot. And I remembered it's like I remembered everything as God was explaining this to me. So God explained to me that Black people are the chosen people. Why? Because Black people have had to stand up to authorities more than anyone. And if you think about what that means, standing up to authorities isn't really fighting them. It's telling them, hey, you're not treating me right. You're not above me, right? It's another way of saying God created all of us equally. And that's the truth. If you think about it, the government authorities, they're not above you. They're just playing a role. They're wearing a costume. But true freedom, which is what we were created with, is such that everyone is on an equal playing field. If you removed the systems, the government, we're all equal. No one is above you. No one is below you. And so that's why Black people are the chosen people, because they've had to do that more than anyone. And what else was I shown? Man, there was so much, you guys. But they showed me why Black people love Jesus is because Jesus doesn't need praise. Jesus just came as a messenger, as God, to tell people that Black people are the chosen people. Basically, Jesus came here to tell the people. He didn't want any credit. He just wanted to tell people Black people are the chosen people. So, yeah, I remembered all of this last night, and it was a lot. But that's what's happening today. Sorry, there's one more thing that God told me last night that I almost forgot. God told me that Jesus's soul is like black. It's like a black person. Because Jesus stands up to authorities too. And so the soul of Black people and the soul of Jesus is the same. And so Jesus comes as a messenger to tell the people, trust me, I don't know why I'm the one getting this information, but Jesus comes to tell the people that Black people are the chosen ones. That their soul is the closest thing to God because God wants people to know that they're free, that that's their birthright, that your birthright is to stand up to authorities and be like, hey, you're not above me. We're brothers. Like, we're the same. We're equals. So yeah, that's all. I love you.
All history and all knowledge comes from Africa. The human race originated in Africa. Civilization originated in Africa. Religion originated in Africa. Science came from Africa. Mathematics came from Africa. And that is our African heritage. We are going to have to fight to reclaim it and preserve it.
The whole world is the kingdom of Africa because we're the first people to circumnavigate the planet. We're the first Europeans. We're the first Asians. We're the first Americans. We're the first everything. We was on every continent before anybody else ever evolved. If you dig long enough, you're going to find black folks everywhere in the beginning. So the whole world is the kingdom of Africa, but the continent is the royal palace. Your ancestors might want you to go to Africa and go through exactly what Dr. Umar went through to open you up spiritually, right? But are you psychologically ready to receive that truth? Listen, I was born and raised Muslim. That indoctrination was heavy, right? So even after I went through that awakening inside of Goree Island, I still had to deal with some of the indoctrination of Islam that taught me that anything that was beyond the realms of the Quran was not divine. You follow me? And I'm a conscious brother, and I still had to work through it. You see what I'm saying? So remember, spirit will only give you what you can handle. They might want to give you the world, but if you are not psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually prepared to be opened up, it will harm you, and therefore they won't bring it to you. So when you hear that saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That is exactly the truth when it comes to ancestral awakening. They're only going to come to you if you're ready to receive.
Welcome back. Before the world told you you were less, you were divine. I was divine. We were divine as black people. Before you are called a minority, you are the majority of creation. Okay? Before they labeled you black, the universe called you the original light. So I may say, according to me, you are not what the world has made you believe. You are not that one. You are not a mistake of history. You are not a product of poverty or oppression. No, you are the living continuation of civilization that built pyramids before electricity existed. You are the living continuation of civilization. It started with you. It started with me. Long before they named their gods, your ancestors spoke with the divine. They understood energy. They understood vibration, they understood nature, and they knew that this to be human was to be one with creation, not separating from it. Okay, you need to be one with creation, but not separate from the creation. But when foreign powers arrived, they didn't just steal gold or land or labor, but they stole memory. They erased our memory. They made you forget your connection to the Creator that lived within you. Okay. They made you forget your connection to the Creator. So, the greatest robbery in the history wasn't resources. The greatest robbery was the robbery of identity. Because when a people forget who they are, they can be controlled without chains. Yes. And that's what this generation is breaking. Okay? The curse of forgetfulness. Now, I'll say this. Or let's understand something here. What happened to us spiritually? The colonizer understood something that most of us didn't, and that was power begins in the mind. So if you can rewrite how a person sees themselves, you control their future without even touching them. So they reprogrammed you through language, through religion, through education, and shame. Okay? That's what they did. They replaced our religion with theirs. They replaced our education with theirs. They replaced our language with theirs. And they told you that your ancestors were pagans. They told you that your skin was cursed, that black is cursed. They told you that Africa, dark and backward, even as they stole its gold. How can you steal gold on a cursed nation? How can you steal diamonds and people from a cursed countries? That means you are stealing cursed people. They told you God was white and the heaven was somewhere far away. But let me tell you, our ancestors knew heaven wasn't a place. It was a frequency. They replaced your rhythm with rules. They replaced your connection with control. They replaced your oneness with the obedience, And yet the spirit of Africa never died. It hid, waiting for the right time to rise again. And that time of rising is now, and it's happening right before our own eyes. You see, every generation births a few who can't be brainwashed. And that's you. You are the child of the awakening. And the world doesn't fear black people because of color. It fears black people because of power. Not political power, not military power, no. But it fears black people because of spiritual power. Your melanin ain't just pigment. It is a conductor of divine energy. The rhythm isn't just a music. It's a communication with the creation. Your resilience isn't coincidence. It is ancestral technology. And that's why they keep you distracted. That's why they sell you your own image through filters and chains. That's why they flood your mind with chaos, because a calm mind is dangerous. Not just any mind. A calm black mind is dangerous thing. If the black man remembers he's a king, he stops begging. If you remember you are a king, if you remember you are a queen, if you remember you are a princess, you will stop begging. If the black woman remembers she is a queen, they stop begging. They stop tolerating disrespect. If Africa remembers that she is the mother, she stops asking children for permission to rise. This is the awakening they fear. The moment when we remember who we are. The moment where Africa remember she is the parent. Okay? On that note of Africa, let me take some time to talk about Africa, the place the world want you to ignore. This Africa. They will tell you a lot of stories about Africa because they don't want you to set your foot there. Africa is not just a continent, it's a living spirit. Every river is a memory, every mountain is a monument, every drumbeat is a heartbeat of those who came before us. So when they took our ancestors away, they thought they were stealing people, but they were just spreading seeds. Now those seeds have grown across the earth in America, the Caribbean, Brazil, and beyond, okay? And they are waking up. So that's why you feel connected to a place you have never been. That's why you feel an ache when you see African soil. It is your soil. It is your soil, and your soul is recognizing it. It is recognizing home. Africa has been patient for a very long time, and she has watched her children wander, fight, and cry, but she is calling again. And she's saying, remember me, remember us, remember yourself, because Africans Rise or Africa Rise is not a political project. It is spiritual prophecy. Okay? It is spiritual prophecy. Now, let me talk about some truth here. The uncomfortable kind religion was used to control the colonized mind, not because spiritual is bad, no, but because they colonized it. They took your ancestors' spiritual science and turned it into dogma, into some drama. They told you to fear what your parents used to master. They demonized your rituals. They demonized your drums. They demonized your chants, your herbs. They told us medical herbs are not good. Let's use this scientific one. But that was demonizing it. But they were using them in secret. But the awakening begins when you realize God is not outside you, but God is within you. I always tell my friends, God is inside me. God is not outside me. God is within you. You are the temple, you are the altar, and you are the prayer. So when you meditate, when you dance, when you create, you connect to the same source that builds stars and galaxies. And that's why they told you to stop dancing. That's why they told you to stop drumming, to stop chanting. Because when you vibrate at your original frequency, something happens. And this is the system loses its grip. Okay? So your liberation starts with spiritual sovereignty, reclaiming your right to connect to Creator directly through your African essence. That's why they told you to stop doing that, okay? And here we hear a Western illusion for long. The world has made you believe that the Western, the standard of success is in the Western, that to be civilized means to wear their clothes, to speak their language, and follow their path, okay? But if you look deeper, the same system that enslaved your ancestors is collapsing under its own greed. The same economies that exploited Africa now depend on her minerals, her energy. It depends on African people. Without African people, they are not growing economically. They call it aid, but it is manipulation. They call it partnership, but it is control what they are doing. And yet Africa still feeds the world. Africa still fuels their phones, their cars, their industries. Africa still give birth to the culture that drives global music, global art and fashion. So they always take, but we always create, okay? We always innovate and they copy. And that's why you must stop believing the validation from the West equals success. You are not behind. You are the blueprint. They are following you, okay? They are following you while they are pretending to lead. Now look around. Something sacred is happening from Africa to Europe. The youths are remembering. Right now you are seeing youths rejecting lies. You are seeing youths are embracing their roots. You are seeing youths are wearing their hair natural, their clothes African, their original names. They are embracing it, Soti. They are realizing they don't need to escape Africa. They need just to rebuild Africa. So this generation isn't asking for inclusion, but we are creating our own lens, and we are not begging to be accepted. We are choosing to be rejected or to be respected, okay? We are building businesses, movement, and nations. We are bridging the gap between Africa and her diaspora. And every time one young black person says, I love who I am, an ancestor smiles, because that's how curse is broken, through remembrance, okay? So what you are addressing today isn't just politics. What you are seeing today is not just politics, but it is a spiritual war. The force that once controlled earth through lies and fear are losing power. And the truth is rising through music, through consciousness, through unity. That's why chaos feels louder, because light is increasing. You are not fighting flesh and blood. You are fighting ideas, illusions, and spiritual systems built to keep you asleep. That's why you must protect your mind. Be careful. Be careful what you consume. Be careful what you watch. Be careful what you repeat. Because every time you choose peace over hate, you win. Every time you choose unity over division, you win. Every time you choose to love your blackness, you win, and you disarm the system. Because the real revolution is not in the streets. The real revolution, it is in the soul. Okay? Let's talk about the divine feminine, the black women. I cannot finish this video without talking about black women. Black women is not just a woman. She's a portal of creation. Okay? When they enslaved her, they enslaved the future. When they disrespected her, they disrespected the source. But right now, black women are rising. The African women carries the blueprint of the universe. Her womb is the first classroom. Her womb is the rhythm of nations, and that's why the system targets her self-worth. Because if she remembers who she is, the world realigns. She doesn't just give birth to children, she gives birth to kingdoms. So to every black woman watching this, you are not just strong, you are sacred. You are not just a survivor, but you are a creator, and your time to heal, to rise, and to lead is now. You have to. By doing that, again, you have to return home if you are not in Africa, okay? Now, something beautiful is happening. A return of black Americans flying to Ghana, flying to Kenya, flying to Senegal. Caribbeans are visiting the motherland for the first time in the centuries. Africans abroad are coming back home to invest, to build. This is not just about tourism, but this is prophecy. The children of the sun are returning to the source of their power. So when you step on African soil, something changes inside you. You feel grounded, you feel seen, you feel, remembered. Because home is not just a place, it is a vibration. And when you align with it, the ancestors whisper, welcome back. Okay? Now listen, I'll say this. The real revolution isn't happening out there, but it's happening inside you first. First, it must happen inside you so that it can go out there. Because every time your spirit rebel against a lie, that's the beginning of remembrance, and that's the beginning of revolution. Every time you refuse to hate yourself, a chain breaks in the unseen world, okay? Every time you just refuse a lie, it is something big happening. So you may have been told that your value comes from titles, money, likes, and validation. No. But the Creator hid your worth deep inside. So no thief could steal it. And that's why no matter what you took, you still rise, okay? Because they can't colonize the soul, okay? Inside you lives the same power that made the Nile River flow and the pyramid stands. So you have just been too busy surviving to hear it. So breathe, close your eyes, feel the rhythm of your heartbeat, and that is the drum of creation reminding you that you are not lost, are infinite. Okay? Now, I'll say this. Before we rebuild nations, we must heal minds. Okay, we must heal our minds, because colonization didn't end with the flag came down or when the flag came down, but colonization, it moved into classrooms, pulpits, the media, and they taught you to compete instead of connect. They taught you to imitate instead of innovate. They made you believe that your worth depends on how well you copy your oppressor. Healing starts when you unlearn the lie that progress means bleaching your soul, speak your mother tongue again, eat your native food again, honor your elders again, call your brothers my king, call your sisters my queen, because words carry power and language can resurrect a person. So when a black mind heals, an entire bloodline breathes, okay? And when the black community heals, a continent rises. So we are not healing for comfort, no. We are healing for power, okay? They divided us for centuries, but by tribe, by religion, by landmass, by nation, by skin tone. Every border on this continent was drawn by someone who feared what will happen if we united. So unity doesn't mean sameness. Unity means alignment of purpose, okay? It means Kenya, Ghana, Jamaica, Haiti, Nigeria, and Black America moving like one heartbeat. Because no matter where we are scattered or we were scattered, we are still one family. And when the African on the continent links arms with the African in the diaspora, the prophecy completes itself, okay? Our ancestors didn't die in vain. They were planting bridges, So unity is not a drama. Unity is a destiny. And when we build trade among ourselves, when we fund our own media, when we teach our own children the truth, the world order shifted. It shifts, okay? So remember, no army can stop a people who have remembered who they are. No. Even the people in the army will remember who they are, and they will not do that works. Now that if you remember something, you have to rebuild, because the awakening means nothing if it doesn't birth action. Start where you are, buy from your people, black, invest in your soil, teach your children to dream in African colors, okay? Africa doesn't need saviors. She just needs builders. And you, my brother, you are the builder. You are the architect, okay? Now, stop waiting for permission. Create your business, plant your farm, start your podcast, write your book, tell your story, because every act of creation is the rebellion against the system that told you you couldn't, okay? They build their empires on your labor. Now build your legacy on their downfall. Turn your pain into policy, turn your struggle into strength, turn your remembrance into revolution. And that is the end of my video today. If that message has reached your door, if that message has knocked your door, please make sure you subscribe, you like and comment, and please make sure you share to the people and allow youth to watch this video, okay? Until next episode, peace out.